Hi, I'm Hillary Wynn, Custom Content Manager for Meister Media Worldwide, the publisher of CropLife magazine. I'd like to welcome Wesley Haun, Senior Agronomist for Tiger-Sul. He is going to answer some questions about the growing importance of sulfur as the fourth essential nutrient in modern crop nutrition, highlighting how high-yield systems are rapidly depleting soil reserves and exploring the complexity of nutrient availability in the plant soil system and why sulfur, key to photosynthesis and plant metabolism, deserves focused attention alongside nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. But first, a little bit about Wesley. At Tiger-Sul, he coordinates soil fertility and crop nutrition research with various research organizations in the US and internationally. He leads seminars, publishes technical bulletins and newsletters on applications of sulfur bentonite and micronutrients. His training and publications incorporate research results that demonstrate agronomic benefits of a complete plant nutrient management program. Wesley, welcome.
Greetings, Hillary. It's an honor to participate in your program today to provide agronomic information that will assist producers to make more informed crop management decisions.
Wesley, is there a difference between elemental sulfur and sulfur bentonite?
Yes, there is, Hillary. Elemental sulfur and sulfur bentonite are used interchangeably quite often. Both types are valuable and have specific uses. Elemental sulfur, for example, is used primarily in the commercial industry, treating phosphates. It's also included in synthetic rubber, concrete, cosmetics, pesticides, as well as pharmaceuticals. Tiger-Sul has added bentonite clay to make elemental sulfur a more effective product. Bentonite clay has swelling properties that exceed 15% of its weight in absorbing water. Therefore, enhances the ability of the clay to expand and add to its functionality. You may ask, how do you add clay to a solid product? Elemental sulfur, here again, when you heat it to 350 degrees, it becomes a flowable product. We can pump it into a tank and add clay to it. Then as we pump it through the manufacturing process, we form what we call pastilles, and they are cooled rapidly. Therefore, they solidify. Therefore, can be handled and taken to the field. With the bentonite clay in the pastilles, when field applied, the clay absorbs soil moisture. They swell, fracture the sulfur into smaller particles such that it makes it easier for the bacteria to feed upon it.
How much time is required for the bacteria to convert elemental sulfur to sulfate?
That's a popular question I receive, and my general response is that depends. There are a number of factors that influence that conversion rate. Soil moisture is about just slightly below field capacity. Soil temperature is between 65 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit would be optimum. Now, there'll be some activity below that, say at 50 degrees up to 65, it'd just be somewhat slower. Soil aeration is required. We need oxygen in the soil for the bacteria, as some of the bacteria that convert elemental sulfur to sulfate require oxygen. And then microbial activity is a function of the population and the sulfur particle size. Here again, the smaller the particle size, the faster the bacteria can feed on that and make the conversion.
How does a grower know if sulfur converting bacteria is present in their soil?
Multiple species of bacteria are present. The albicillus species is the primary bacteria, and it is native in the soil, and no inoculation is required. Sulfur bentonite serves as a food source for the bacteria. So when the bacteria detect that there's ample food supply, they tend to increase their population. Actually, some bacteria can double their population in a day. Some bacteria can take upwards to a week to increase the population size. So obviously, higher the population, the faster this conversion rate takes place.
Do all crops have the same requirement for sulfur?
No, they don't. For example, corn and sugarcane produce high amounts of dry matter and therefore require high amounts of sulfur. High protein crops, such as legumes, have a high sulfur requirement as well as our high oil crops, which include canola. Canola has a high demand for sulfur. So all these crops have high sulfur requirements, but the amounts between each crop does differ. Significant amount of research is actually being conducted and published, and I've gleaned some of those resources and create a chart of the uptake and removal rates of sulfur from many crops and create a chart that's available on our website at tigersul.com.
You mentioned the website, but where else can the audience go to find out more information?
That's a good question. We have regional account managers throughout the US and Canada that are an excellent source of information. You can locate them on our website at tigersul.com.
Wesley, thanks again for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.